Since a lot of people want me to cover the Murdertime trio, I first need to cover what inspired the Murdertime trio to be actually a thing. And this inspiration came from a comic from 7 years ago, created by the famous Imoni Party. This comic being the Badtime trio. The Badtime trio was first introduced by an awesome cover art of 3 notable Sans-based characters. This being Sans from the normal Undertale universe, Underswap Papyrus from the Underswap universe, and the pre-booted version of story Shift Chara, who are apparently ready to attack you by using their signature attacks. Sans using his blue magic, Papyrus using his orange magic, and Chara using their knives, which is kind of ironic since the canon version of pre-booted Chara actually uses plants attack, but whatever, fandom will be fandom, and we'll ignore the canon facts. But let's return to the Badtime trio. At first there were short comics, telling the stories of how the 3 fighters were stated in the judgment hole and lived a small slice to life situation while waiting for the human to return, so that they could beat their ass. Later on there came out a full-fledged comic telling the story of how the Badtime trio came to be, and it's like you may guess, since the visual cues gave you probably some clues to find out that the comic was completely in Japanese. But since the comic was so famous and popular, the creator themselves translated the comic into English. But since their English was rather poor, the translation was full of errors. But that didn't stop the fandom, and especially Mr. Amazing voice actor, not from bringing this comic to a wider audience. For example, Mr. Amazing voice actor actually voice acted together with his team the entire comic into a comic dub, and later on into a complete comic dub movie, which gained over the years over 4 million views, while only being around 19 minutes long. But enough of statistics. What exactly is the story of the Badtime trio? Well, I want to keep it simple, since you should read it yourself or watch the comic dub movie for yourself. So let's make a small recap. Sans was killed by the human, but he was teleported into the judgment hole. This one being a bit different, but he is not alone, since shortly after Underswap Papyrus enters the judgment hole as well. At first, both of them think that they are meeting their lost brothers. But when Story Shift Chara enters the judgment hole as well, Underswap Papyrus immediately starts slamming them into the wall and is out for the kill, until Sans noticed, "Oh shit, we are not the same person, and also, you're not my bro. And Papyrus was like, what do you mean, bruh? But they have no time to actually think about this, since the human enters the judgment hole, and all of them jump the human. After killing the human, they have some time before the human once again loads his save file, since Chara is the only one who actually knows when the human saves and loads. They use Chara's intuition for their advantage to plan on how to fight the human next time. They also find out that Chara actually remembers every single timeline the human has done, making their fate even more tragic than both Underswap Papyrus and Undertale Sans. Speaking of Underswap Papyrus, he somewhat becomes the leader of the Badtime trio, making plans and becoming the head of the organization by asking Chara about certain things, like the stats of the human and if the human is the same from each of their timelines. Meanwhile, Sans is still unsure about Story Shift Chara, while Underswap Papyrus made his peace that this Chara is a different Chara from his timeline, and actually saw this Chara, if there would have lived in his timeline, to be a good friend. He knows that Undertale Sans is still unsure about this Chara, even though they look nothing alike to Undertale Sans' own human. But Sans feels that Chara feels like the prototype of his own human. So Sans at first tries to ignore ignore the human by not interacting with them and trying to teleport away by using his famous shortcuts. But he noticed that his shortcuts are limited and he can't use them to leave the judgment hole, meaning all of them are trapped currently in the judgment hole. But Sans' prejudice against Chara gets thrown out the window after Chara makes a joke which made both of these boneheads laugh. At the end, Sans buries his prejudice against Chara and all three of them start to jump once again the human who just recently loaded once again. But instead of killing the human, they ensured that the human would survive their attack and would be able to answer their question while being still under cruciating pain. But Chara notes that the human only does these genocide runs to experience something new. No killer sense. But since the human was bored of all the pain, they broke their own bones to ensure that they would die before loading the timeline once again. Needless to say, all three of the members were extremely traumatized by this act of the human. But there's still no continuation of this story, so we don't know if they are able to defeat the human by making them reset or boring them so much that the human just leaves them all alone. But there do exist many fan-made continuations, most notably some fan-made fan games of the Badtime Trio, which ends with the player eventually being able to beat the Badtime Trio. There also exists a continuation in the Evil Sans Squad, where the Murdertime Trio meets the Badtime Trio and offers them to join their crew. But Sans and the gang refuses after realizing that they killed their respected brother, and many more. Speaking of the Murdertime Trio, thanks to the Badtime Trio, the Murdertime Trio was created by the fandom and became rather popular, even more popular than the Badtime Trio, because of its notorious members Horror Sans, Dusttail Sans, and Killer Sans, while also including Insanity Sans as a substitute member. But this group will be covered in another video. Since this video is not 8 minutes long, let me talk about what is taking so long with the SP Dusttail video. The short answer being that currently every 2 days or every 5 days new lore is dropped. So instead of making one video and needing to hear about that I missed some canon facts, I wait a week or two more to gather all the current canon facts so that I can make a massive 30-minute long video for you all to enjoy. So I hope you understand that it takes a bit before I cover the whole SP Dusttail universe. And also, Drunk Chara is also in the works. So, since I have some time left, let me just note that Mami from Madoka Magica has the same luck as Peter Parker, meaning none. It's completely in the negative. Since none of you actually know what the hell I'm talking about, watch Madoka Magica. But since you will not do it, let me announce you something. I plan on doing character analysis videos in the form of short formats and long format. So be hyped for that, since the first characters I will be covering are pə-PY-rəs, future Gohan, and one of the many magical girls from Madoka Magica, as well as other anime-related character. So please write down in the comments which character I should analyze next. So now that the 8-minute mark is reached, I wish you all a bloody good day and goodbye.